Hello, Titan Dev Team. Today we're going to be talking about landscape materials. We've got a few more coming in, which is a nice surprise to start to see these landscape materials being populated. So one thing to keep in mind, so we have a base function that we have here, which we use to kind of keep just everything kind of uniform and keep all of the logic contained. It also means that if we ever need to do any updates to all of the materials, it's very easy for us to do because we can just feed it in through this. If you have any feature requests or things that you would like to see, feel free to put them in the feature request section, just like we did with the original base material when that was first put in. Anything you want to see in there, we can add that in very easily. When you go about making your landscape function, this is good. It's all named correctly. So you have MF, which stands for material function _ landscape layer, and then the region that it's supposed to go in, and then the name of the particular layer. One thing you do need to do though is to make sure that when you go in, you rename any exposed variables that you have put in here. That's because it all gets fed into a single material. And each of the elements need to have their own dedicated section so that we can kind of override them and update them. So to do that, you can go in and you can manually rename them. But a tip that I like to do is to just go in, select the whole thing, copy it, and then open up a notepad document and paste in the content. So this is the text equivalent of all of these nodes and these names, and then just go in and replace. And if you go in and find the name, so we'll just take this section here, so grassland rock, and we're just going to replace that with the new name that we have in here. So this is volcanic rock, and then we're just going to do that and then replace all. That's going to replace all of the kind of named elements with that one. And then same with group as well. We just want to go in, find anything that's grassland rock and replace that with volcanic rock, replace all. And then if we copy that replace text, we can just delete those, paste it in, and then just re-hook up those outputs. Now you can see that all of our variables are named correctly and they're in the correct group. So it just means that you don't have to go in and do each individual one, which will save you a little bit of time with that. One other thing to keep in mind as well, so you don't have to include the exposed variables if you don't want to. You can go in and just set a static variable like that. Those don't need to be named. They actually can't be named, so that's absolutely fine. Just keep in mind the input for these. Most of the vector values are vector 4s, so you will probably need to go in and append. I don't think you need to do it on a float 4, but you do need to do it on an exposed value. So for something like this, you would need to go in and append the alpha channel into there, just because the alpha channel is used inside this variable. Inside the function, we do have some kind of variances. So we obviously have the albedo, surface, and normal. That's using the same setup logic for all of this stuff. So the albedo is obviously just our color, our texture is in our surface value, and that's got our roughness, metal, and AO. Though I think we use the metal value for something else because we're not expecting to see any metal on the floor. But again, let us know if that's something that you do need for your assets. And then the normal in here. One thing to keep in mind, these can't be virtual textures. I know this is really counter to everything that we've been doing in all of this stuff, but basically because the landscape material is feeding into a runtime virtual texture, we can't use streamed virtual textures for anything that's being fed into a runtime virtual texture. So the runtime virtual texture will handle the texture virtualization element of that for us, so we don't need it on the base textures. So for anything that's feeding into the landscape, we just need to make sure that it's not marked as VT. So for that one, we can go in and we can just edit that. Again, if you need to do any bulk edits, you can do that via the property matrix, which is really handy. So edit selection via in property matrix under asset actions, we can just go in and untick that on all. It's going to come up with a warning on all of these. And then we just need to go in and say that this is just regular color, regular mask, and regular normal, just to fix those. Because again, these are expecting non-virtual textures on those elements as well. And then finally, we do have some extra values in here. Again, we're going to be adding some more properties to these as you need them. But the in value is a vertical gradient control. So we have the logic here, it's a world aligned in Z, which means that it's a vertical gradient. So in here you have the add, which is basically going to offset the gradient. The divide will control the distance of the gradient. And then the B channel basically controls which gradient you want to use. And inside that we're using a curve atlas, which basically takes in a load of curves that you can set up, and then it inputs them in basically for each pixel line. You get that. So if you want to add any gradients in, just let me know and I can go in and I can add those gradients to this table. And then once those are in, you can basically specify which gradient you want to use. There's 256 slots, so there's plenty of curve slots available for you to use. And then that B channel is divided by 256. So basically 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 is going to be the gradient order that you'd use for that. And then we have an alpha, which lets you just control the overall strength of that. So it's a vector 4 that goes in to this value here. And that's going to give you the gradient control for that. Again, you can set it as just a flat value if you don't want it to be editable, or you can expose it if you want to. Again, any value, extra logic that you want to be put into this material function, just let me know, and we can look at adding that content in as long as it makes sense to do so. And like I said, make sure you're not using VTs on any of the textures going into there. Any questions? Add them in the Discord, and hope that helps.